So here we are talking about the concurrency. So concurrency is very important in enterprise applications and software. So understand the different types of problems that we talked about. What are execution contexts? What is isolation and immutability? The different types of concurrency control. What are deadlocks? All right, so we talked about the different types of databases, specifically relational. So you should be familiar with these COD rules. What are the rules? So those are good to know. So be familiar with the 13 rules, starting at rule 0. What is a schema? So the conceptual things. What are all these different components? What is DDL? What is DML? How are they different from each other? What are these CRUD operations and how are they mapped? What is CRUD? What does that mean? What are the components of a table? Primary key, composite primary key, foreign key, constraints. What is SQL? How do we get data out of it? So there might be, an example SQL statement, and you have to pick the right. I'll tell you what's the correct SQL statement to do something, and I'll give you the statement. You have to pick the right one from multiple choice, that sort of thing. What are the different types of joins, and how are they used? So we talked about the basics. Not too just basically inner, outer, cross. Those are the ones that are important and most commonly used. All right, so I'm not going to ask you any of these data types and programming stuff. That's not that important. So, but things like what is a cursor, that might be something. So, again, just the idea of it. What are the different, the other types of databases? So, I'm not going to ask you the types of databases. That's not that important. But you should, so ACID, you should know what ACID means, all the different ideas here. What is the CAP theorem, and what are the different definitions for the components? What is base, and how does that work? What is a time series database? All right, so the different types of NoSQL, right? So we have, 4 different types, right? So we have key value, graph, column, and document. And they all have different characteristics, right? So you should be familiar with the different types of NoSQL databases and, how they map to different use cases. What are their characteristics? All right, so, certain situations will call for certain types of databases versus others. And so what are the characteristics of each one? What does the key value store do, and what's its benefits versus these other types of databases? I'm not going to go through all of that, but that's the basic idea. So I'm not going to ask you specifically about Redis versus, Mongo or something, but just be aware of the different, categories of databases. Other than that, so these characteristics are useful, but I'm not going to ask you anything specific. And polyglot persistence. Be familiar with that concept. I think there is a question about that on the exam, so understand the concept. All right, so that takes us to